Welcome to Uncorked, Wine, Business, and Life with Bill Green. I'm Gerald Colton, Bill Green's co-host. Bill, we are here in a spectacular setting, and we have a really special guest today.
We
Jeff
are.
Harrow.
So this one's a really special one for me. In 1995, I get introduced to Jeffrey Harrow, 30 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And I would say there hasn't been a chink in the armor as far as our friendship. We're both vertically challenged at 5'6" or 7. We could say 7.
There's
right?
some advantages to that.
There is some advantages
There really
for that.
are.
I can't figure them out, but because
Still get that growth spurt.
First of all, Jeffrey, we're going to talk about Jeffrey's awesome business career and his family, and we're also going to talk. But Jeff is an amazing athlete, and I don't even think we talk about that much. You were a tennis pro. You weren't a pro, but you like club champ in tennis, and but the thing for me with Jeffrey, and we're going to talk about his amazing business career. Taking two nothing businesses and making them really world-class companies. But for me, the thing that I love most about Jeff is the way he is with his family. And we'll talk about that. And I know his kids since they're little. But Jeffrey, thank you for being on Uncorked. 1995 was a pretty special time for you. Tell the story about Travel One.
Well, first, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. And Bill, those are the nice things you've ever said about me. So it only took 30 years and a favor to get that going. So I guess if we want to start in business, Travel One, which was the predecessor to Travel One, was a little candy store on the corner in Cherry Hill, New Jersey called Cherry Hill Travel. That was the predecessor. And I knew nothing about the travel business. I had graduated college. I was working in New York, unhappy in what I was doing. And my father-in-law, my mentor and a wonderful, wonderful guy, said, why don't you come down and run this travel business? So what do you mean run the travel business? I'm 22 years old, knew nothing about travel, and he said, neither do I. But I'm going to go off and do this other thing, so why don't you consider that? And
Jeff, just for a second, for people who don't know, the travel business has changed so much over the years.
Well,
So at 22 years
to
old.
give you an example, it turned out to be really lucky, all that change, because that's what gave us the ability to really compete and to do something different. Without that uncertainty, chaos, we wouldn't have been able to do it.
But you saw that because so many people left the business at that point, and you saw opportunity.
So we did, but I knew nothing about it, but I knew certain things. So when I joined the business, just to tell you how it changed, there were, believe it or not, 3 different fares airlines offered their customers: first class, coach, and 21-day advance purchase fare. That's it. When we sold the business to American Express, there were 2 million fare changes a day. So imagine the chaos to get from here to there.
Well, there's also no internet when you started.
No internet.
Which changed everything. Imagine you had to call up, and I really wanted to call a travel agent to book my flights because I couldn't do it myself.
Yep.
Well, we were, I actually, my first business, I actually became a client of Travel One.
Yeah.
And they put a ticket printer
Yep.
in our office that was connected to a dial-up modem.
Yep.
And I guess, I forget exactly how we did it, but if somebody needed to travel, they'd have to come into the executive offices and get a ticket printer.
Once again, to tell you how crazy it was, you chose a travel agent by how close they were to deliver you a ticket. So that's crazy. So a lot of people looked at that as scary. They didn't know what to do, how we're going to do that. Again, we looked at it as opportunity. So when I came down, there were 36,000 travel agents in the United States. When we sold to American Express, we were the 6th largest in the U.S.
Wow.
So it was quite a ride. We were young, we were stupid, and we were, we really felt we had a mission, and we felt we were the underdogs because we were competing against people like American Express, whose brand was monumental, and us. At the end of the day, fact, the president of American Express Corporate Services told me one of the reasons he wanted to buy us is couldn't beat us. And so that was really neat to hear. And they bought our business, and our people flourished after that, which is always what you want to do as a seller. You want the buyer to be happy with the purchase. And it was just an amazing run. And there's a lot of lessons along that way.
We own some of them. And
Yeah.
you call yourself a candy store to start out. Describe what that building
Well,
is in the center of Cherry
here's
Hill.
the candy store. The candy store was, we had 8 employees. And so we had one location with this giant airplane on the side of a building.
Right in the middle of the strip malls of Cherry Hill.
Right in the middle. And here's what the first major thing we did. I could sit and talk to you about your trip to Hawaii and how great it's going to be with your kids and all that kind of stuff. Or I could talk to you about your 10,000 employees who travel every day. So the first thing I did was change what we were doing from a retail travel company to a corporate travel agency. And that meant a lot of change, but that was the first thing that we did. The second thing, it's a really neat story, was along the way we started growing like crazy. And you always need help. If you want to get to a certain size or a certain ability to really grow this business, you need help, and you can't do it all yourself. So when we used to have these hiring sprees because we were growing so quickly. In fact, the last year when we sold the business, we had hired about 350 people that year.
This is 98.
1998,
Right.
We sold that business a long time ago.
And you started in, so just a sense of the
I
window.
started in 84, I think.
Right.
So, so I would tell the people, and again, a lot of it back then, before internet, was on the phone. And I would tell our associates or our employees, look, I could answer 100 calls a day. But by the end, we were taking about 26,500 calls a day. And I said, I can't do that, so I need you guys to represent us. And so we spent a lot of time with training and education and giving people the ability to succeed.
I want to stop for 1 second. I did a lot of business travel back then. You were my guys, and I never talked to you directly, but all of your staff was always excellent, and it was clear you made a point of making that happen.
There's no doubt. We believe when you're in a competitive business, we always longed for a business that had no competition, like an app.
That's a good one.
Or something like that. But our businesses, you can go to the next street corner, you can go to your friend who is a travel agent. We just had to be better. So we defined for our people what better meant.
You did it.
And it's all about measuring. So if we always said you get what you measure. If you tell your people what's important to you and how to act a certain way with respect and knowledge, we always joked, and we went through this thing called the smile but incompetent service. I'm really sorry, Mr. Green. I'm really sorry we screwed you up. Okay, well, what are you going to do about it? So the first thing is say you're sorry. The next thing is fix it. And the next thing is make sure it doesn't happen again. So those were the 3 things that you do in a service business.
And it's funny because you say no competition, but in reality is competition makes you stronger.
It does.
And it would be a boring world if we didn't have competition. But Jeff, as I mentioned earlier, I really wanted to touch on the family aspect and into the business. And, you have a partner, it's Scott Tardy, who I just have a tremendous amount of respect for. You guys were the classic Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside.
Yes.
Scott was in there grinding the operations, really good at it. And Jeff was schmoozing with the guys, and he's traveling around the country. And you put on plenty of your own miles yourself.
Yep.
And it was really speaking with corporations that just said, Travel One, now how's my travel? And it was about Jeff.
Yep.
And it was just a masterful execution of a great story, but we all know how difficult family business is. And I want you to talk a little bit about, Jerry, your father-in-law, who handed you the candy store, was a mentor of mine, and, may he rest in peace, was just so impactful. And it wasn't the typical impactful. I mean, Jerry was a pharmacist turned banker, turned real estate guru.
Yes.
And this is how it all happened. But, Scott is just such a rock star operator.
Again, there's so many lessons there about family business. In fact, I've been asked many times to write a book on family business because very few people can believe how long Scott and I have been together, how many multiple businesses we've been in together. We're family. And Scott likes to say, in 35, 40 years, we've never had a fight.
Yeah.
Wow.
Never had a fight.
And just in case we didn't quite mention, Scott is your brother-in-law.
Yes.
Jerry Goodman, the
Married to
patriarch.
sisters.
And he had 4 daughters. You and Scott
Not
married.
even blood relatives. So I'll tell you the story of how that happened. About 4 or 5 years in, I was going crazy. We were growing so fast. Things were getting out of control. How to find someone. And Scott I don't know if he was married yet or engaged. Scott's a lawyer. He's very, very smart.
Not all lawyers are, by the way.
Right. And Scott was living in New York. And I said to Jerry, what should I do? What am I going to do? I think I'd like Scott to come join me. And he said, I think that's a great idea. And we talked about what that meant, because he was the kind of guy, back to mentorship, who taught you by his actions and not his words. So he let me figure things out. He let me make mistakes. And he knew how ambitious I was. And so he said, listen, what I did with you is, I think it's up to you. What you should do with Scott, in terms of the economics, you should be exactly the same. I don't care if you were 5 years in and you grew it to this point, you should be the same. And that way you have the same goals. There's never a fight about that.
Wasn't it a tough pill to swallow?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. But, people have a concern about equity and how much they're giving up and all that stuff.
But it's ego, too. And you suppressed yours.
I'll talk about that in a minute. Huge ego. And I learned so much from Jerry about taking credit and not needing credit and spreading that out and letting things go. So one weekend, Scott's in New York, and I start talking to him about coming down to Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He lives in Manhattan. So why would I want to do that? Why do I want to come to Cherry Hill? And why do I want to be a travel agent? I said, I'm not a travel agent. It's a travel business. Look what we've done. And we've grown from here to here. We've taken this business, and I see this and I see that. And I literally wouldn't let him out of my sight for like 48 hours. And he finally said, if you get out of my apartment, I'll do it. And I said, okay, when can you start? And he said, well, I got to sell this. I got to do my apartment. I go, how about Monday? And we've been together since that Monday.
There's so many lessons in that. And persistence is one of them.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Not taking no for the answer and really staying after something you believed in.
Bill used the word. It's about the grind, right? It's about, when you called me Mr. Outside. When you're on the growth, the marketing side, there's such a fine line between being a pest, being annoying, and following up to make sure that you get what you're trying to get. And that takes a little experience and skill and all that. I was a pest in this case. I just needed him so badly because he was so smart and so good at execution. And here we are 40-something years later and partners in every business and every investment that we make.
We're going to talk about that, but we're going to, it's telling me, I got a little tear in my eye because I can't even imagine that we're sitting here 30 years after we met, and we're going to drink some amazing wine right now.
I'm excited.
So the wine to your left that has the ring around the bottom for identification purposes is a Chateau Le Mission Haut-Brion 2000. So we're talking about a 25-year wine, and it is absolutely spectacular. I actually bought this wine on futures. It was offered probably about 2001. I waited for it for 2 years. So the thing is wildly valuable, and it has a 100-point rating by Robert Parker, which kind of drives the price, which is a whole interesting thing about the wine business. But let's take a little taste. It's probably been a few years since I had this one.
We're going to swirl it, right?
No, we could give it a little swirl, but look how dark it is, right? Especially with the Tyler's lights here. You can see that color is just spectacular. So when you talk about Bordeaux compared to Napa, or big fruity wines, you're tasting more soil than you're tasting fruit. But when you let it open a little bit,
Look how you're
blackberry,
Here we
Cheers.
little blackberry. But anyway,
A little cheers.
I don't think our viewers want to watch us drink wine.
Okay.
I wish I could drink with us, though. So please
Yeah, it
open
would really
one.
be great. You can come over and we can share some wine.
And
with
you can always get Saddle Hill wines.
That's
we can
right.
always get Saddle Hill wine. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But it was 99. You're kind of a free agent. I know you looked at a couple things. You started going on some corporate boards. And then in 2001, you shake hands with a great friend, Bob Ginsberg, who was running a company called Marlton Technologies. It was a public shell. And they were in the display business, which was actually interesting because it was somewhat mirror image the travel business because you were going after corporate customers.
Correct.
So he shakes hands in about August of 2001, and then we all know what happened on 9/11. The world fell apart, and nobody was in airplanes anymore. So I called Jeff up. I said, "You're killing the deal, right? There's no way you're gonna buy this company." And he was getting a very good price on it. And he said, "You know what? I am. I'm a man of my word, and we're buying this company." And of course, I was wrong, and Jeff was right. And I'm going to let you talk about the gory details, but you guys buy this company in 2002, and I don't want to, no disrespect to Bob, but the company was not going anywhere. And Team Harrow and Tardy swept in, basically owned close to 80% of the business, and you sold it last year to a very large display company for an ungodly amount of money. The only negative I have about that, it took you 20 years, dude.
It did. It did.
And you know, I'm a little disappointing it took you that long. But in that period of time, you became an excellent golfer. So it tells me that Mr. Outside was really outside. But talk about Sparks. You renamed the business.
Right. So the business was a display business and an exhibit business. So they built these large scale things. Bob ran into some trouble. The bones of the company were great. And you're exactly right. We were selling to the same people. We were selling to corporate purchasing guys and finance guys and travel. Those are the guys who made the decision. We felt that was going to happen on the exhibit side of the business, right? That these things were a really big expense and Bob built a really good business based on the product they built was first class. I didn't have to fix that. It was wonderful. But I knew they had some issues on the sales side, right? They had some good customers. And they had a mentality of manufacturing first, and we had a mentality of the customer first. And so we got in the business, and again, Bob's not his fault. When 9/11 comes, the world stops. No one's going to trade shows. No one's going anywhere like that. So it was a really difficult time. So yes, we shook hands and I agreed to do it. But another lesson there, and we did it again during COVID, and that was the biggest thing we've ever done and took the most guts, is that there's opportunity when things fall apart. So that's how we looked at it. We said, look, people aren't going to be off airplanes forever. So we know it's coming back. So let's learn while it's slow. Let's learn the business a little bit more. Let's understand our people a little bit more. Let's understand the marketplace a little bit more. And we turn that business from an event business and from an exhibit business into a full-fledged event marketing company. So we knew large.
Give an example of Google. Right?
So we ran, and it's another great story how we won that business. But we ran Google's developer conferences since day one. So Google has 5,000 visitors or guests to their developer conference on a yearly basis, and it started in their cafeteria.
But yeah, so take us back to the world of 2001, and what was Google at that point?
Google was still Google,
right?
But and they were not consolidated. We were really good at consolidating things. We would go to the travel businesses and say, "Hey, Mobil Oil or SAP, why using 32 different travel agents? Use one, and here's why you should use us." And we did the same thing with those guys. We created this breadth of services for selfish reasons to kick our competition out. Why do I want the guy doing that event and we're only doing his trade shows? We wanted to do everything. So we hired some fantastic people who grew up with us in the business. They're still there today, working for the company that bought us, Freeman, and they're doing extremely well. But we got into way more complex events. So think about a developer conference of 20,000 people. And we did everything from logistics to setups to builds to main stage to the speeches for executives, lighting, everything you could think of. We were a one-stop shop. And at the end, when we sold it, I'd say we were one of only 3 people in the world who could do everything. Someone could do part, they could do main stage, which is, you could think about a main stage and what that entails. They can do the digital aspect. They didn't build anything. We could do it all.
But it was also a very diverse business. Talk about the retail side of it. I mean, when Verizon wants to redo their stores and make them look like Apple stores, they come to Jeff Harrow.
Yeah, because we believe that retail experience was an experience. And so we spent a lot of time with the Verizons of the world, T-Mobiles of the world, Comcast, Xfinity stores. We built every one of them in the US. And so everything below the ceiling and above the floor, we were able to build for them. And we actually did that in China.
So you had, we're kind of looking at over a 40-year business career, 45, right? But along the way, what's that?
Ouch.
I know. I hear
I don't like to hear that.
But you know, I want you to touch on, and you're actually still on the board of Franklin Square Investments, which is a very large business development corporation, and that's founded by our good friends David Edelman and Michael Foreman. And you can touch on that for a minute, and but we're gonna talk about family.
Okay.
Go ahead, Franklin Square.
FS Investments is a Wall Street level company based in Philadelphia, and it's a credit fund. We basically lend money to large buyers of companies that do M&A. So our clients are not only the end company there, but private equity shops buying really large scale things. And Michael did a masterful job, just an incredible job. And I've been along for the ride. It's been just really fun watching taking this world-class business that he started to become what it is today, which is a New York Stock Exchange company that is, again, world-class with world-class people.
And you're partners with KKR. Anybody hear of that company? I mean, it's like, massive players in this business.
But Billy, earlier Jeff made the comment about Scott being an attorney. He's a really smart guy. I said, not all attorneys are. Now, Scott was an attorney who left the legal field and had a tremendously successful business career. Michael Foreman was actually a year ahead of me in law school and never really practiced well early on, but he started.
But you know what puzzles me about this? And Scott was definitely a grinder, and Michael, was a really hard worker. But these guys are awesome golfers. And I always said, if you shoot,
He's jealous.
If you shoot,
He's
I'm so
very
jealous. If you shoot over 100, you have no business being on the golf course. If you shoot under, you have no business, right? But Scott, is he still a 1?
No, he's a 3 or
Oh,
3
geez,
or
a
4.
3. That's
He's a
terrible.
3 or 4.
Let's go to let's talk about family, because the story I love to tell is that you and I can have plans on a Saturday night with our wives, both named Amy, and we could have 7 o'clock plans, and you call me up at 5:30 and you say, we're out. Ross, one of his children, amazing kids, they're coming in. We didn't know it. Sorry, you guys are out. And he just always prioritizes children. Like his father-in-law, Jerry, Jeff is an amazing father. Like, will, stop everything. Nothing else is important. He's got 3 awesome kids. Jason, the oldest, who I probably didn't meet Jason until he's 44 now?
41.
41. Okay. Yeah. So I met Jason, when he was 10, 11 years old, and, he went to Princeton, Harvard, JD, MBA, and he argued in front of the Supreme Court. So, like, I will tell you guys, Jeff's wife is very smart.
For sure.
And then Dana, who is 38.
36, she's 37, 38.
38.
Yep.
So Dana's 38, the most magnificent young lady who's just had an awesome ride in life, and she's a mother of 2 children, and her husband is a rock star business guy too. And Ross, who's married to Amira, Ross is 35, and, they're both rock stars in the business world, and we can, they're all going to be guests on the show. So we won't spend time. Talk about the relationship with the children and how you're able to build 2 world-class companies and still be able to maintain your great golf game and the awesome family life that you have.
Again, it's role models and mentors. So you talked about Jerry. Beginning in the travel business, it's very easy to get caught up and work 7 days a week and just do nothing else but that. And I would be in the travel business, and my third kid, Ross, was born, and I'd work Saturdays and things like that, and Jerry would literally throw me out. Go home. Just go home. You know what? It's going to get done tomorrow. I know you don't believe that stuff, but it gets done tomorrow, and nothing's going to happen. The world will not blow up. But these moments you will miss. And those are really great lessons for me. And you're right, I've lost friends because I've canceled things. But you know, you can only have your set of priorities, what you think is right. And now we have great relationships with our kids, and I'm a grandfather now, and they let me see my grandkids whenever we want, and we have a great relationship. So it started with Jerry. And I'll tell you another great Jerry story. I'll never forget. We always built him an office. We wanted to be near him, so we moved our offices from that little airplane building on Route 70 to another spot in Mount Laurel. It was a big building, and it was beautiful. Scott did a great job fitting it out, and Jerry was next to me. My son Jason was probably 9, came over, and he was out of school that day and just came over, and he goes into his pop's office and he sits down. He goes, "Pop, what are you doing today? Can you hang out? What do you want to do?" And he kind of looks at his calendar, and he had a meeting with Trump. Funny enough, he had a meeting with Trump because at the time, Jerry was the commissioner of the Sports Authority in New Jersey. So he controlled the Meadowlands and things like that, and Trump wanted to meet him. So he looks at his thing and he goes, "Nothing." And I hear him in the next room canceling the meeting with Trump. So, you know, it's easy to learn from somebody like that. And that was his priority, his 9-year-old grandson.
Yeah.
Who asked him on a date.
It was a sweet man. What I love about Jerry, he could be anywhere. Anybody could be walking in. He's wearing blue jeans and a black short sleeve T-shirt. In the winter, it was long sleeve. Yep. And that was the uniform.
Yeah.
And he's just, I mean, look, let's pivot and
let's go to more wine.
We're gonna try this wine, and your family is so sweet and have always been so sweet to me. We're going to try wine. It's not a sweet wine, but I want you guys to notice the difference between the Bordeaux and this 2013 Colgan X-Estate 10 Estate, which is an iconic, I mean, that's a whole business story by an amazing lady named Ann Colgan. But this is even darker than the other one, right? And you guys are going to take a little taste of this. So different.
It is.
Right.
It's so, I mean, these are blends, and you can tell that. And you can tell different fruits in this.
Absolutely. It's got Merlot. It's definitely got some Cab.
That is really great.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. It is a little early, guys. It is a little early, but
No,
you know,
that
with
tastes
Uncork,
great.
we shoot whenever we can get the amazing guests. Well, Jeffrey, thank you so much.
Oh my God.
You know I love you, brother.
Thank you. I love you.
You know,
too.
Jeff, it's interesting because we do on Corp talk about wine, and obviously enjoying some great wine, and we talk about business, and your business story is so fabulous. And I think there's so many lessons in there for anybody listening. And we've talked about life and what is more important in life than family. And you combined the business and life as well as anybody possibly could. And Jerry Goodman looking down, and I had the pleasure of knowing Jerry, playing basketball in the driveway next to his house in E.B. Kerr's driveway for years. And while he had these 4 beautiful daughters, you got one, and brilliant, beautiful daughters. And then being at the soccer fields while my children, his grandchildren played soccer and all this stuff. And the guy was just incredible with such a low ego to people. And just a humility, and created to me the greatest thing he could, and that is a family that now has just so many branches and tentacles, and it's just the greatest. It's what we can all hope for. I have 3 sons who are all now engaged and about to get married.
That's exciting.
It's really exciting, but it's also they've been each other's best friends. They've grown up as teammates, partners, but now things can change.
They will,
because the addition
I promise you, they will.
And so for Jerry Goodman. His greatest success was his family.
No doubt.
And it's the family.
First, second, and third, right? There is no fourth. It's just first, second, and third was family, family, and family. And again, there's a lot of business lessons to learn about being selfless and inclusive and all that kind of stuff, and not having to take all the credit for things.
And a killer negotiator.
Killer guy.
Oh my God.
I've had a killer guy. He was great.
We will have you back again because as you're going through your story, the negotiation part really fascinates me because you go from this small travel agency and now you're negotiating with American Express and all the other things you did along the way. And those things really fascinate me.
Yep.
And obviously you did great and learned a lot from Jerry.
Yep, we did.
So anyway,
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks,
for being here.
guys. Cheers.
See you, buddy.
Thank you for watching and listening to Uncorked. And we will be back again with another great guest. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Jeff Harrow.
Thank you.
On behalf of Bill Green, I'm Gerald Cohen saying thanks for listening.